This is Suki, a very lucky human being who, in my opinion, did not deserve such luck. Brother got news that he's going to be a baby daddy, only to be warped into another universe and told that he's going to be clapping the cheeks of 12 princesses and producing more children in order to save the world. As you've seen, he wasn't warped alone. He was warped with Mihiru. Scratch Suki because in this recap, we'll be focusing on Mihiru, who has recently had a star child summoning. Itsuki ran up the stairs. The anime opens with a young man running up the stairs. His name is Itsuki. Let's call him Suki. He reaches the roof, where he meets a fine young lady, Mihiru, waiting for him. She tells him that she's grateful that he made it all the way there to see her. She says she's got a mind-blowing piece of information she wants to give him that she can't share at home. Now, that raises questions. Are they siblings, or are they living together? And are they Boo and Bae? She opens her mouth and confesses. She's pregnant. Boy, I thought someone was about to confess love or ask for a zodiac bonding session till she reached the avatar state, but I guess we're way past that. Just before the Suki can process how much diaper money and child support is going to be, they get warped away by a magic circle. After being warped into another universe, they both wake up in a place that looks like a dungeon. And apparently, it wasn't this guy who knocked her up. She told him that she just woke up one day and noticed a full-blown human being was forming inside of her. Suddenly, she began to feel ill. A mark crested on her face all of a sudden, and a demon emerged out of her cheeks. And this demon had one thing in mind, to send her baby daddy to the afterlife. But luckily for that cow, a mark also crested on his hand. A shiny knife came out of nowhere, and with this newfound ability, he sent that demon back where it came from, Mihiru's cheeks. They busted through the wall, and as they stepped outside, Suki told her about the mark on her face, and out of nowhere, a tiny red panda crawled onto her, and she threw it at a tree. It introduced itself as Mana, and told them they were in the land of magic. They arrive at the palace, and the king tells them that they're heroes, and gives them no choice but to save the world, or live there forever. Mihiru walks into the room and sees Suki tied up to the bed half naked. She's informed that she's not pregnant. She watched as they informed Suki about how he's supposed to run the activity of child conception with 12 maidens. Mihiru stood there all innocent until she was informed that she was one of the maidens and was yanked onto the bed as the first maiden, that her cheeks would be spread like butter on bread. Mihiru doesn't mind losing her V card to this guy, but being watched was her problem. Mana, on the other hand, couldn't just wait to get things on the way. It flew to Mihiru and played around with her and was thrown out. And the behind-the-scenes activity was on the way. Mana misled us all. After whispering to Mihiru about how she's doing a star power ritual, it was all a big fat lie. Mihiru is sitting there, totally confused after Rioni stepped in to explain the love ritual. Surprise! It's not what you think. It's just some close physical contact, nothing like what we all imagined, and to top off all we know, apparently they were cousins, and these two people loved and were about to commit a gruesome act just a few seconds ago. Mihiru was fairly disappointed because she already made up her mind for a galactic unity moment like never before. Just after a little heavy skin-to-skin contact, out pops a star child named Virgo. At least they're happy to meet their new kid, who's here to help save Granvania. The next morning, Mihiru couldn't bear to look at Suki's face. The moment was really awkward for her. But Mana, being her usual chaos gremlin self, decides to break the tension by saying something inappropriate. Itsuki, trying to ignore Mana, asks about Virgo. Mana casually drops the bomb. Virgo's already at an orphanage. He was sent there to train since star children are born to fight, not hang out. Itsuki can visit him later, but first they have more hero stuff to do. While walking, Mana yells "action" out of nowhere. What happens next? Boom! A girl crashes into Itsuki. She says she's late for something, but she's not even in a rush. Itsuki's confused, but Mihiru is even more confused seeing a lady pop out of nowhere and jump onto her man. They finally make it to Rion's place where Mihiru meets her competition. All 11 of them. Each one has a fancy introduction. Eri, Maiden of Aries. Tarua, Maiden of Taurus. Lilith, Maiden of Gemini who's got a split personality. Ruka, Maiden of Cancer. She's the girl who crashed into Suki earlier. Femiruna, Maiden of Leo. Mireille, Maiden of Libra. Sue, Maiden of Sagittarius. Faroon, Maiden of Capricorn. Khalit, Maiden of Aquarius. Yuzuha, Maiden of Pisces. Rohini, Maiden of Scorpio. And then there's Mana, proudly calling itself the Maiden of Lude. It even gives Itsuki a super sketchy magazine about how to effectively a constellation connection with the Zodiacs. That's what we'll call the 12 girls, the Zodiacs. The next day, the priestesses throw Itsuki and Mahiru a welcome party. After a while, they realize that Ruka's missing. Itsuki offers to find her. Mahiru shows up where Suki was, and apparently she's drunk on some spiked chocolate bonbons. She thanks Itsuki for protecting her from bullies when they were kids, comparing it to how he beat the impurity. Then, she brings up a promise Itsuki made at a festival 10 years ago, but Itsuki doesn't remember. That's no shocker, because guys throw a lot of that in the air. Mahiru looks sad, but she tells the dumb boy to return to the others and bond with them. Mana, never missing a chance to be annoying, reminds Suki about the labyrinth. She drags him to visit Virgo at the orphanage. There, they see Virgo training hard under Alfie, a super strict trainer. But when Alfie notices Itsuki, she turns all soft and sweet. Virgo runs up to Itsuki and hugs him, promising to get stronger. Itsuki feels proud, but Alfie and Mana aren't letting him off the hook. Itsuki visits her at the orphanage and gathers his courage. He tells Ruka he doesn't want Virgo to be lonely and asks her to help make another star child. Ruka was touched by his honesty, but she could not wait to be touched by him. And in 0.5 seconds, the love ritual began and a new star child was created. The next day, Itsuki receives the 12 star wards, created by the priestesses. These wards are key to sealing the impurities deep in the Stardust Labyrinth. Itsuki, Virgo, Ruka, and Mana use the priestess's powers to open the labyrinth's entrance and step inside. The labyrinth is a maze with 12 bottom layers, one for each constellation. At the end of every layer is an impurity lord, powerful monsters born from negative energy. As they explore, an impurity attacks. Virgo and Ruka fight, but get overpowered. Itsuki tries to protect them, but fails. The impurity turns Virgo and Ruka into dolls, forcing the group to retreat. Once outside, Itsuki realizes how important it is to create stronger star children. With renewed determination, he swears he won't fail again. After leaving the labyrinth, Mahiru watched Virgo and Cancer turn into little kids again. Mana was so upset that she ran off to complain to Nar. Nar drops a bombshell. Itsuki has to do a double love ritual. Normally it's called the sum of threes, but the threes are just going to be rubbing skin. Mana went over the moon while explaining it. It tries its best to make it sound tempting, even for a brick wall like Itsuki. It's as if the universe looked at Itsuki and decided to mess with him. Mana dragged Mahiru and Suki to Granvania's hot springs, and Mahiru could tell right away that Mana was up to something. That raccoon always has some scheme, and she wasn't about to fall for it. Itsuki, the clueless lump that he is, seemed nervous and mistakenly muttered something about a double love ritual. Hearing about another love ritual spiked my joy to the roof, but hearing about a double love ritual not only soiled Mahiru's mood, but reminded her that this dumb cow has to perform the love ritual with 11 more people. Predictably, Itsuki panicked, like she'd suggested marriage or something, or an open-air love ritual. Suki panicked, but fret not, cause Mahiru came prepared with her very own bathrobe. While in the water, Mahiru noticed his training wounds. He's too weak to handle impurities, but she didn't say that out loud. He did. She just painstakingly reminded him he needed more star children. As she tried to encourage him, he promised to protect her, and for a moment, it felt sincere. That was the same promise he had made to Mahiru when they were much younger. The moment was glowing until Mana honked her way into the moment with a carriage, babbling about toys in the carriage. Mahiru was absolutely not impressed, and so was Suki. Suki shot down the whole thing, and Mahiru was even more pissed because this whole plan was to get her laid. At Rion's clinic, Mana can't stop her dirty chatter, so Rion sedates the raccoon, and finally someone can hear someone with sense speak. Rion announces she's one of the maidens for the ritual. Apparently, talking to Itsuki made her think of her late brother. Somehow, this disaster of a human is earning sympathy points. While wandering aimlessly, Itsuki stumbles into a bar where Faroon works. She's cheerful, hard-working, and everything Itsuki isn't. Naturally, she steals the show. She even treats him to a drink. Itsuki, with the subtlety of a sledgehammer, asks her to join the ritual. Faroon agrees, but drops some emotional baggage about being a stuck traveling dancer. Remember that book that Mana gave Suki? Apparently, it's of more use than Itsuki's flirting skills. He opens up the book and uses a move from page 15 about how to shut up a ranting, needy girl. He pulls close, nips her ear, and tells her he will rock her world and show her those stars. Bold move for someone who can barely handle eye contact. Faroon is charmed, and Mana's over the moon, cheering like a proud mom. That night, the ritual begins. Itsuki, the useless cow, loses it before even starting. Everyone expected this, and yet it's still disappointing. Mana does her best motivational speech, basically saying that he's got one job and somehow he pulls it together. For the first time in a century, a visitor bonds with two maidens, and two new star children are born, Capri and Scorpi. Nar is impressed, but Mana's more focused on how Rion and Faroon look absolutely wiped out but satisfied. They look like they just finished an Astral Alliance session. Only God knows what this clap machine did to them. The next day, Itsuki struts into the labyrinth with his 4 star kids. With this powerhouse team, they finally take down an impurity lord. Even Itsuki can't believe it. He seals the impurity and claims victory. Word to the Genesis, be fruitful and multiply because, as we all know, things are only going to get worse from here. Imagine needing 4 kids to clear just level 1. Mana filling Suki's head with wild imaginations of them making out. Suki snaps out of it when he realizes all the women in the story are covered with Mana's face. He began to run around, telling Mana that he's tired of her stories. That's when he spotted a church and ran inside, but he was only falling into Mana's plan. Suki just ran into the hands of Ari, a devoted church girl and the constellation of Aries. But before the man could pull a move on her, the children gathered around her and told her to ask for her help. Mahiru waited in line, but since it took forever for him to purchase the food, she left, and he saw Yuhuza. At first sight, she ran away, and he ran after her. But trust him, a snail runs faster than him. He lost her, and now he's sitting around eating lunch. Then popped Mana with another set of betting a babe advice. After being well equipped, Suki went to visit Yuzuha, and this time he went to her home. When he knocked on the door, she let him in, and he offered her the extra lunch he brought. She asked if it had jam, and when he said it didn't, she went straight to her canvas and used it to clean whatever she painted. He sat there looking pretty, and he was served tea. Whilst they spoke, he noticed something so unusual in the room. A vampire's bed. A coffin. He asked her why she's got a coffin in her room, and she says it makes her rest peacefully, and she also named it Catherine. Suki managed to get her to go on a date with him the next day. To his, yours, and my greatest surprise. She pulled up with the coffin, and this time she added glitter to make it girly. Suki brought snacks for her around, and this time he brought a lot of them. While they were having a good time, she said she's unable to paint because she hasn't had a dream in a while. Suki tells her that she doesn't need to dream and tells her to look at the wonder around her, but when they looked up, they saw Mana dressed up as a bird. She picked up her coffin to leave, but then a lady and her child came around, and they spotted Mana dressed like a bird. They ran away from it, but Yuhuza thought they were laughing at her. She went back home in tears, and Suki went to church to pray. Suki met Ari in church, and they had a conversation. Apparently, Yuhuza is sick. She's got sleeping sickness. Most people affected by it mostly go to the afterlife in their sleep. The reason she's carrying her coffin around is because she doesn't want to burden anyone. With that information, Suki stepped out, and Mana had already made him a coffin. This time, Suki and Mana went on a date with their coffins, and they had fun. At the end of the day, she decided to create her own star child, and, well, it was successful. And when I saw a bang, Suki sent an impurity to the afterlife with just a slash, but before he could even celebrate, Mana sent him to seal the impurity as fast as possible. The Star Kids were amazed at the show of skill Suki just put up. It's been a while since Suki last saw the maidens because he's been off fighting one impurity or the other. He sent them all on a summer vacation. While they were on a bus, Seiya drove next to them and started telling them how he's going to the beach too. He's the school idol. I mean, the guy can't walk past a mirror without taking a few billion selfies and a few trillion videos. On top of that, he's been pestering all the maidens. Brother has been trying to stellar synergy them one after the other, all year round. They tried to figure out how he knew that they were headed to the beach, but Mana wouldn't disclose that she posted a picture right before they left for the beach. When they arrived, everyone was happy and having a good time. Especially Mahiru, who was trying to just have fun and not worry about this young man going around and making more babies. Suki, on the other hand, was ogling at everyone, but then he caught sight of Lilith and went and sat by her. While talking, they noticed Seiya, and she told him that the guy is a complete narcissist sent from hell, and no one can stop him. She also tells Suki that she's a fortune teller, and Suki, not really a believer in anything that requires intangible faith, shuts down her idea of fortune telling. Oh, this hit her hard, and as she started to cry, her personality changed, and now she became Lily, the devil side of her. She's just like my girl, but the difference is my girl has 27 personalities, and all are to the extreme. Surviving her is like surviving the World War. Lily set Suki's head straight, telling him that her fortune is never wrong and he should try it out. Lily switched back to Lilith, who now read his fortune, wrote it on paper. Lily tells Suki that in a number of days he'll be on his way to meet his maker.